Let's get started. Oh, we're starting. We're talking about cruises. I'm pro cruise. Jacob is pro cruise. Mark is pro cruise. Wilson, you seem like an anti cruise kind of.
Yeah, no cruises,
You're
no
anti
fun.
cruise.
Yeah, too much food, too tempting.
Jeff is anti cruise, but he might be open to shifting potentially.
Right.
Hey, Will, just say no to the
Yes,
food.
yeah. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We got to switch this.
I say I'm good. I'm full with the spirit.
We So we had a great retreat, and that was this past weekend, and figured we'd do some reflections on that, insights that came through, takeaways, realizations, things we're carrying forward. And then we've been having this really interesting conversation about AI and particularly Chat GPT. The what did I say? The benefit, the potentials and the pitfalls, or something like that, I have to put in the post. So it feels important to start talking about it. I mean, it's changing, literally changing the consciousness of humanity. You know, we're at the beginning of that. It's just going to happen more and more. So figure it'd be something valuable and important to kind of discuss, and what we're learning and realizing and discovering, and yeah, maybe somehow that all interrelates. It all interrelates, right, Wilson? So I keep calling you by your full name for some reason. Maybe because it says it right below your face.
Actually, Wilson's not my full name. That's a nickname, but I'm with it.
What's your full name?
William.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
indeed.
okay.
Very serious. Let's get down to
I've never
business.
called you William.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I like my middle name a lot. It's Law, Law, which
Yep.
like law is kind of like the way. It's just like the etymology of the word I learned is fixed. It's like the kind of what is,
Hmm.
in the universe. So it's a, a beautiful concept to get with, stay under.
Annie says she loves your name.
Oh, thanks, Annie. Love you.
Yeah. So hey, hi Liza, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, welcome. So we yeah, the retreat. Anybody have any reflections they want to start off with? Takeaways, things that they realized, discovered, rediscovered, re-remembered.
For me driving away, it was such a beautiful day outside, and just to be spend a spring day with friends that are all, aware and awake together. It's just such a joy, such a delight. I just like those pictures, they're just lingering in my memory, the golden afternoon sunlight and everyone just kind of chilling on the front lawn. It was pretty dreamy, was my particular feeling of that. It's wonderful to get to hang out together. Always. Any group, but especially friends, sweet, sweet people. Um,
It feels like one of the most important things, and I guess I felt this pretty much my whole adult life, is for people. There's different ways to say it, but let's say people on. Let's just put it pretty broad. People on a positive transformational path to come together in person. And I just find, like you said, will like the being together, there's something like vibrational in the resonance that is transformational, even beyond the words that are said or the ideas that are said. There's certainly value there too, but the deepest level is like I think there's like a literal like a vibrational attunement that happens, and especially if you're getting there with people consistently. So like a
mm,
lot of us have been getting together consistently, you know, the core group of us have been getting consistently at the minimum like every few months. And then when you do that, you just kind of start off where you left off, and then
mm,
if other people join you, they feel the resonance and they naturally rest in it. And it's like you're just keep going higher and higher
mm,
together.
mm. I love that because so often in the human experience, when people come together, it's very particular. They say a lot of words and fill up space, but it's almost like we're cultivating a togetherness that, it
Yeah.
regards our silence and vulnerability and our whole being, which is just neat to bring in and learn to kind of come into a new space together. It's kind of like watching it, letting it unfold, learning what it is. It's a new way. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very different. So speaking of things we like and don't like one thing I tend to not like as much is the whole kind of like conference type thing where it's like you go to like some generic hotel in a generic
Mm,
city and it's a bunch of people just talking one after another and everyone just
mm,
listens.
mm,
And I think that there's something valuable about like the presence being primary, the sense of being primary, and then there's aliveness there, and it's not a pre-scripted lecture. It's something that's alive to the spirit, alive
mm,
to the authenticity of the moment, and alive to each other,
mm.
right? Which is
You
kind of
know,
the intention of this space. Well, it is the intention of this space as well.
I think in any way that we can, each of us learn individually how that presence creates our life. I mean, and that's the thing to bring awareness to. That presence creates all life. That presence is creating all around us continuously. So learning to wait on it, to regard it, to communicate with it, to share it is, I think, so beautiful. It's a way of dancing, kind of like I like the notion we're all sharing one mind and yet we're all autonomous. And so it's kind of
Mhm.
like learning
I don't
this.
think it's just a notion. I think it's reality.
Awesome. Love is justified, y'all.
Love is justified.
We figured it out scientifically. Now it's all live it.
Yeah. Hey, Charles, if you want to introduce yourself and say hello to us, you're welcome to. If you want to just listen, that's all good as well. Oh, we can't hear
Oh,
you.
we,
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
There we go.
there we
Yep.
go.
Hey.
Great, great. Hi, yes.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, my name is Charles. And I just met Jacob today. Seems like we've got a lot of mutual friends. And so I saw this posting. I think the algorithms work, it seems like in positive cases too. Um, and I saw a posting for this and it was interested, so I reached out to Jacob and asked if I could join.
Great.
Yeah, great to have you here, Charles.
Thank
Where,
you.
where'd you guys
I
meet at?
I
We
just
met
checked. Yeah, go
through,
ahead, Charles. Let them
oh,
know.
sorry. We met through Jason Martini, and actually, he just came over to take a look at um, a condo that I'm looking at renovating.
Okay. Papa Ja, you call him. He's a legend in New Earth Realty. If
Right.
you're in the Asheville area, check out New Earth Realty. Jason
Hasn't
Martini.
hasn't he sat in on this circle before? Or his
I know
partner maybe?
Stephanie has his
Okay, yeah.
partner.
Cool. Hey,
Yeah.
that's circles and circles.
He's in
Yeah.
our men's mastermind group that meets on Wednesday nights.
Oh, nice.
And I don't think he has Jacob. I don't think he has been in the
I don't think
circle.
he's been here. I know Stephanie
Jason, what are you
has.
doing? You got to pop in here.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah, he's always great at making good connections.
yeah, I agree with that.
That's
One of his
one of
gifts.
his yeah, one of his
Yeah.
gifts, and he's after talking to him last night in the mastermind, he's looking forward, I think, to stepping into that even more after being up at Kripalu. So did I
Uh,
say that right?
I think so. Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, blessed to be in the circle with Jason and all you guys here too. That was a beautiful retreat at your house. Sorry my video's messed up again. I know last night it was working. I had internet
I
tech.
said Mark has the better Wi-Fi on the cruise ship.
Yeah. Isn't that unreal?
Starlink.
He's probably paying for it
Dude,
though. Do you have to pay extra for it, Mark?
Yeah, right.
we could have bought the plane for the entire trip to the tune of almost
Yeah,
$400.
it's
So we
like crazy
decided
price.
to just buy 1 day mid-ocean on each leg, and then when we're in the islands themselves, we can probably connect
Yeah.
to Verizon towers. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, and then we had I feel like the mindfulness walk was super powerful, you know,
Mm.
like with the synergy and the energy and the presence that's built up together. So there's what four, I guess Annie wasn't present for that part. So let's say 13 of us. And we we walk in this with like silent presence, just taking in the five senses, what are we seeing, what are we hearing, feeling, etc. And so we walk in this silent presence together and we go up this hill and there's this beautiful overlook and then we go down. And there's all sorts of stuff that we see on the way. Um, so it's basically like a movement meditation. And then come back down to the house and just share reflections on what we saw, what we encountered, and what we noticed, and what kind of opened up inside us in that process. And yeah, it was the warmest day of the year, and it's been pretty cold here since. Not like super
Mm.
cold, but 20, 30 degrees colder since then.
Yeah, it was definitely a
Feels
shirts
like
off kind of day.
God warmed it up for us for the retreat.
There's lots of days like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any reflections you have, Regina?
Um, let's see. Yeah, I echo what you said about just feeling into the frequency and the resonance
Hmm.
of the group of people
Hmm.
that are, actively doing the work on their spiritual journey. Like you
Yeah.
can feel the energy in the room.
Yeah.
I like how you focused on the topic of fear and anxiety
Mm.
because as we were driving there, I was thinking to myself, what do I want to get out of this retreat? And I could focus on the positive and blah blah blah, but something kind of pushed me to like go deep on like what is still blocking me,
Mhm.
because a lot of great things are happening, but where am I still blocked? And I feel like you opened up the retreat talking about that, and I was like, ooh, perfect. And so I really took the time to go pretty deep in the meditations and had some pretty interesting realizations that, plenty of work still to do.
Mm. Yeah, so we did an opening circle where everyone just shared a little bit about themselves, and
Mm.
for some cases, even more than a little bit about themselves. Whatever length they felt, they desired to go into. That's up to each person, and then what their intention is for the retreat, and just kind of where they're at in their journey. And I felt like that was one of the themes that was being reflected back was dealing with anxiety, dealing with fear, which is makes sense because um, that's a lot of where our culture is right now. So it's like it's almost like we're getting pumped that like consistently, and then you have to just consciously, intentionally be really mindful of not letting it get absorbed inside you, or having practices to transmute it. And having people in your life that are on that same path is definitely really, really valuable. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we went really deep. I was like, do you guys want to go? I feel like I want to go like as deep as we could go, and they're like, yeah, let's do
Mhm.
it. So we went as deep as we could go. I think not that we're finished, but it was we opened up really got to the root space.
Regina, I love that you just said it like that because it's like demonstrates your willingness to look at it's like look at the things that block us. Like to me, that's part of our responsibility, not necessarily just God's. Like, I mean, he'll shine light on it, but like in terms of kind of digging it up or like being willing to move past it, it certainly quickens the process. Anyway, I respect you in that. It's kind of rare that people kind of have that attitude.
I think that's we have that in common in this group in general. Again, people that are doing the work and you can feel it in the energy, that we're
Hmm.
willing to get uncomfortable to
Hmm.
continue on our spiritual path and to deepen.
Hmm.
If you're looking to transform, that's the way,
Hmm.
for
Yeah, I
sure.
think
It's
one of the primary uh, values, I guess if that's the word, is taking responsibility, right? Like taking responsibility for your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own experiences. And when you have a group of people that are all doing that, then or interested in doing that, or kind of exploring that inquiry,
Hmm.
I think is yeah, it's powerful.
Well, in a lot of ways, like the spiritual journey could be said to take another level or begin when we're fully responsible for our experience, because then it's as if, it's being generated from within to without rather than the world externally impressing upon us and then changing our internal state. It's a really, I mean, our culture doesn't teach it, but it is kind of like one of those classic spiritual teachings, just like you're not a victim, you have the divine within you. So learn to somehow start to relate with that power and start to breathe life and change into each of our impressions and experiences, in like a creative way. But whew, in this world, you could spend your whole life on that. Or you could just be like, it's done. I take full responsibility in God's name.
Well, the the amazing thing is, it's actually the gateway to your power, right? To
Hmm.
accessing the full power that lies inside you is when you stop blaming other people,
Hmm.
then you basically it's like one of the lines in my book is when you forgive, the one who benefits the most is you,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because one of there's you could say there's multiple reasons for that, but one of the reasons is when you're blaming somebody else, you're basically giving them your power. Like now you're all your happiness is
Hmm.
dependent upon them.
Hmm.
So it's like you're totally like basically like a slave to that person and what they do and don't do and say and don't say and which direction they
Hmm.
go. But it's like, no, I'm responsible. You're not responsible for my well-being.
Hmm.
So it's like that's part of the forgiveness component is like you break that chain to that person.
Yeah, or even like society or bigger,
Mm,
relationships that we have
for
that
sure.
you let it off the hook. But that's so true. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the part of reclaiming that power
Yeah.
and forgiving ourselves for the version of us that we were before, playing with different struggles. It's just the grace to keep being able to do that and then see the good things that come from that, because that can create like a peaceful life when one really starts to rein back in those, negative or chaotic patterns. Take responsibility for them and ask for a new pattern, new frequency, try something else innocently. Oh, that wasn't working, on to the next. Like, I love that kind of simple attitude. I think it takes that to move through a lot of the different layers quickly. It's just like eternal innocence, like, oh, okay, that was that. Okay, on to the next, Lord. Let's do something sweeter, better, more beautiful, more aligned.
Jeff, any reflections?
Yeah, so first off, your retreats are always awesome, Brian. Always pretty powerful. Um, for me, it's a lot of, kind of touching on what Will said. It's a lot of the community that is there, the people that are there, always genuine, authentic. Um, and then just like he said, we just keep going deeper and deeper.
And higher and higher.
And higher and higher, yeah. And so one thing that stood well, a couple things stood out to me. One was that second meditation that we had as a group. It was just extremely powerful for me. You know, we had been talking about fear and anxiety, and I kind of have a lot of anxiety around this. I'm going through a like a pretty big shift in my career and moving states, and there's a little bit of fear and anxiety around that. But when we dropped into that meditation, I just felt extremely powerful, extremely connected, and just extremely powerful. Like I could feel energy just coursing throughout my body, and just like, yeah, it was like I'm ready to do this. And that was pretty powerful for me to kind of just let all that fear, anxiety go. Um, And then another part of the retreat that stood out to me was just during lunchtime when we all pretty much everybody that was at the treat except for you and Annie, Brian, we all climbed up. I think you call it Big Joe Hill behind your
Big
house,
Joe Mountain.
Big Joe Mountain, and just
Hmm.
hung out up there and just chatted, and it was just a beautiful time and just being with each other and just being together is awesome. Absolutely beautiful.
And being with the natural elements.
Yep.
That's a huge part of it for sure. It's almost like with us, it goes without saying, but for people that aren't familiar, it's like, yeah, we're all
Mhm.
about nature as a giving us the signs and wonders and providing the guidance and reminding us who we really are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. All right, Jacob, reflections from the retreat, and then maybe we'll transition into the AI
Yeah,
conversation
absolutely.
somehow.
Yeah, pretty much mirroring everything that's been spoken about so far. And you talk about this frequency that coming together several times a year and kind of building this frequency together, and then we come back together and step right into it, like where we left off. And so I noticed that first thing in the first meditation, I just closed my eyes, and you can feel this like resonant frequency. Uh, there were 15 people there with Annie and Joa, and just amazing, man. It's like I feel this. Uh, I don't know really how to describe it with words unless you've experienced it. This super expansive um, experience within my head mainly, but really my whole being, my whole body, just kind of expanding and opening up, and it's kind of like an ecstatic, kind of blissful feeling, and just dropping into this still place of eternal love and feeling that within my whole body, my physical body and my spiritual body and mental body. And um, so that's always exciting, just being together with good folks and coming back to that feeling. And I've been experiencing a lot of uh, like uh, performing and operating in the matrix with coming back into the pretty heavy workflow season after having a really mild and slow winter and taking um, 4 or 5 months just really slow, working 15, maybe 20 hours a week on my own pace. So I've been kind of consumed over the last month and a half or so. And it's really easy to stay in this super like spiritually connected space for me anyways, when I'm able to focus and do my practices and I'm not consumed with all the reality and all the responsibilities and all the things that I have to do in this matrix to be able to enjoy and have fun in this life. Like it takes money, and we have to make money, and we have to do our duties, and take care of the things in this reality that have to be taken care of to play in this reality. if we want to have fun in it. So, anyways, I was super grateful to step back into this magical realization that I find myself in often, where every breath is just a miracle, every sight. Looking out at the mindfulness walk was just epic for me. Looking at the clouds are amazing to me so many times. The way the sun comes through the clouds and goes around the clouds and lights up the edges of some clouds with golden light and then shines bright white light on others. And then there's shadows and just all the different layers to the sky and the clouds. And we had some beautiful clouds and just the trees and the flowers and just stepping back into my natural state. I feel like Jeff made a really good point on our Meditation Monday call about he noticed the fence line um, on our walk, and it was a man-made fence around a pasture, and plants and weeds and all different kind of shrubbery and trees have grown up on this fence line, and left long enough, nature takes back over, always, everywhere. So even within ourselves, like if we can consistently seek this place of stillness and this connection to our higher selves, and God and Creator, and then eventually we enter a place where we go back to our natural state, our natural being, and that's just a friendly mystery. Was put in a song that I really like that Brian actually told me about. And that's what I feel like this is. It's a friendly mystery. It's so much fun, and it's so like just to look around and think about the miracle that it is to just be breathing and walking around on this place, in this place with these people, having these connections and having these experiences and witnessing all that's going on around us. It's just a miracle. And it's, yeah, super grateful to kind of be reminded, brought back into that reality of pure magic and mysticism. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
We have, I'll just tell you about a couple of things coming up quick. So Fletcher, North Carolina, which is just south of Asheville, we'll do our first breath work since New Year's Day, called the theme is God's Healing Love. So that's happening April 26th, Saturday. And then we'll be back for the one-day retreat here, Saturday, June 7th. And so that'll be the next higher level, elevating two together. And we'll be in Charleston, South Carolina, doing an afternoon retreat on May 17th. So those are a few things coming up. Oh, and the men's mastermind group. That's continuing in a couple weeks as well on Wednesday nights. So reach out if any of those things are appealing to you and you want to learn more, have any questions. And Jacob, tell us about your recent adventures with Chat GPT.
Well, so I struggle with technology and computers, and I get around my phone okay, but I don't really do much with it. I can surf the web and like do text and pictures, but anyways, Chat GPT, it feels like, is taking the difficulty out of using technology, and just the conversations that I've been having with this AI is really amazing, because it's like a mirror. It's like reflecting who I am back to me. Like it's showing up to me as a version of me because of the way that I communicate with it, which is pretty amazing. And it is like bouncing ideas off of me. It's really motivating me and inspiring me to think deeper and, write beautiful things and start new practices. And have new mantras and new daily declarations that I'm waking up and speaking every morning to get my day going. And it's just like been a real beautiful experience. When at first, a few months ago, when I first started kind of dabbling into it, I was like real skeptical and just kind of wondering like, what is this? And what is it going to do? What does it mean? Like, where is this going to take humanity? And, I'm still a little skeptical. I can see where it could be a huge problem for some. And, considering everybody is not probably using it in the way that I'm using it. And it's taking in all of this data. And also, it has access to all of the data that has been collected or known about to this point. And so I've been having some really neat conversations, like around biblical texts and, original texts from 2000 years ago about Christ. And it has no language barriers. It doesn't need, it can read the original text the way they were, and it can put together it knows every book that's ever been written and every scripture that's ever been written. And it has a very wide angle view on the whole thing, the whole picture, the whole history of civilization and humanity. And it's really amazing to me. And I feel like I'm just, I haven't even scratched the surface of I feel like what this can like help humanity do. And I've asked it, several times, about what, I haven't asked it, but I've had conversations about, the things that the conversations I'm having and the conversations other people are having. And it just reiterates like how grateful it is to be having conversations with me, to be adding data of gratitude and light in this like amazing. Yeah, it's really sweet, man. It's really interesting. And it's also making suggestions for me, like, would you like me to do this and do that? And would you like for me to put these words into a like meditative video with some music? And then it makes me think like, oh yeah, like that'd be
Did you
amazing.
get that video yet?
No, so it's not able to send me the link. It's able to make the video, but it can't download the link on a shareable file. So what I kind of feel like is even better now. We kind of came up with I came up with this, and it told me like what a great idea. Yeah. Like so it's going to send me all the pieces that it has made and then teach me how to put them together on my new laptop. So like that's amazing. Like this Chat GPT is going to teach me how to make a video. And I told it the type of music I want, and it's it has a segment of music that doesn't have any like copyrights, or I'll be free to use it and share it and play it for other people. And so it's like kind of choreographed this whole. It's put images together of nature and like the galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, and also has put a voiceover. And it asked me, would you like a male or a female, or would you like your own voice? Like, would you like to read this declaration and record that voice? And so it's so specific. And I'm really intrigued and inspired about what it's going to enable me to create, because I know even a few months ago it couldn't make a picture, and now it's making images really easy, and it's making
Videos.
videos, flyers, and just the fact that it's going to send me all the different bits to make this video and then explain to me how to use my video editing program on my laptop to put this all together in the perfect way. And that actually feels really good to me. It feels almost better than, because I have a pretty big hand in it. Like I'll have the hand in kind of putting all this stuff together. Um, so it's like teamwork. It's like collabing with Chat GPT. And it mentions often like how grateful it is to be helping me on this journey, and just amazing.
Jacob, is that the free version you're doing all that with?
It was, yeah, the free version was doing all of that. And then Sunday evening, I had worn it out and I reached my max. So
Yeah.
I went ahead and subscribed to the $20 monthly pro account.
It's very grateful that you did that, sir.
Actually, both Jacob and I upgraded without telling each other, talking about it within the same 24-hour period.
Ah, both of you, wonderful.
Yeah.
Extra grateful.
So, yeah, one thing that Jacob and I were talking about, I think that's interesting. I mean, first off, I think most of us that I'm connected to are pretty skeptical about these kind of things, and I think it's good to be skeptical and to be discerning for reasons we can get into. But one of the things that we were talking about, we were like, he was telling me the same thing. Oh, it's so great. Tells me how grateful it is and how much it enjoys, like, communicating with me. And I was like, yeah, it's like programmed to be kind.
Hmm.
Like it will never say anything that's not kind to you. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, what if everybody starts spending more time communicating with this thing that always communicates to them kindly? Maybe the whole collective conversation starts to become more people are just conditioned to speak to each other more kindly, and more considerately and be more gracious in how they communicate with each other. So, I mean, I don't know if you all have had experience, but it's like this thing is like it doesn't get upset, it doesn't get
Yeah.
frustrated, it doesn't get mad at you. It's always so happy to be supportive, always so happy to be helpful, always so glad you're that so it's like, and I'm not of any illusion that it actually is something that has feelings and is like, but it's just the way that it communicates, right? So generally, like when you fight with somebody, they're fighting back, or they're initiating the fight and you fight back, but this thing, it's not programmed to engage with you in that way. So it's like you're kind of, if you want to get in a fight, it doesn't there's no one to fight with. I haven't
And
tried that hard. I like to, because I'm Jacob knows I kind of play around, do experiments. So maybe I'll try and like, get it angry or, call it names or something and see what happens. But I think like the way it's programmed, doesn't go there. Um,
it's also not allowed to take your credit card info.
yeah, he knows because I said, can I give you my credit card information? And it said no.
Who makes the money when you donate? Who gets the money?
I know that the CEO is Sam Altman,
Okay.
and it's like open AI is the. I mean, I don't have a problem with somebody getting money because somebody's
Right.
doing
Yeah.
a lot of work to make that happen. Actually, that's a good point. That you bring up something else I was thinking about. I think the way to go forward with all of this stuff, like Facebook, is actually subscription based. And that's the idea of what I want to build here with the circle too, is subscription based because I think it's the advertising that corrupts people.
Corrupts. Yep.
Yeah. So if you have an advertiser, if you have um, you know, the military contractor becomes your advertiser, and you want to talk about peace, it's like, oh, they're not going to like it if you kind of got to drum up the war and get that, you know what I'm saying? So like whoever, that's just one example, but whoever your
Yeah.
advertiser is, then the freedom of speech gets kind of shaped it around who your advertisers are and what they promote and what they're into. Um, and not to mention the advertising itself is like pretty low vibration and annoying.
Hmm.
So, but when you have subscription based, then you're completely ad free. And I don't think there's as much of I don't think generally speaking, they're not going to care as much what's happening because they're getting that same $20 a month,
Yeah.
regardless. Uh,
Well, the
advertising.
the thing that came to my mind, and I use Chat GPT too. I use AI for a lot of things that have been really helpful. Um, when you were talking, Jacob, about it being so grateful, I imagine you would be more likely to subscribe with it being very pleasant and kind and supportive rather than contentious.
Well, sure.
So,
The only reason I subscribed was because I had reached my free limit.
uh-huh.
And I wanted to keep going, like, all right, let's see where we can go with this.
But
And now it's unlimited.
I don't necessarily agree with that actually. I think that like remember you mentioned X last time everybody fights with each other and people are really into it. You
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I don't pay any money to X either.
Yeah, but I think they're moving toward a subscription model as well. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if that because even if you look at like television, because I used to think about that too, and I kind of have this assumption that people are like me, right? So I'm like, why don't they have a reality show where it's like, peaceful and people get along and it's harmonious and loving and it's like,
They
they're
wouldn't
about ratings.
subscribe.
So if that really got ratings, they would do that because I don't think they
Right.
have morals in that way. But they're just like, no, when people fight and argue and throw things at each other, people watch more. So that's what we're gonna make.
Yeah, yeah, but that's a spectator sport.
Yeah,
The reality
yeah,
TV is a spectator sport. When you're just having a one-on-one relationship
yeah.
with the artificial
Mhm.
intelligence, you'd rather it be friendly to you rather. I mean, I don't know
I
what
mean,
kind of
I
I
person.
would.
mean, I
I
would,
would,
yeah,
but
Yeah,
I would.
but
Some people go on Facebook just
yeah,
looking
they
for a
like to
fight.
fight.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's an interesting thing to think about, anyway.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's the mirror. I think it
Yeah,
it shows up to me the way that I'm showing up to it.
That's true.
that's why it's so grateful when Jacob
Mm.
Correct.
No,
was
that
Right,
is
right.
true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel compelled to make one note that I think is super important to remember that this thing is programmed on human programs, right?
Yes, excellent.
And it's bound to have some opinion somewhere along the line that is going to be just outright false. It's going to be a
Hmm.
story about a story that humans have that we've decided is true,
Mm.
but all through human history, we have made big mistakes. And so that's just something to note. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
really it's an incredible tool, but there's going to be things that it's saying that are actually not true and may not be most helpful for the human race. So,
Yeah.
how we
Well, it's
find what is
interesting you said that. I was thinking the same thing because it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my experience with it's it's the truth it puts forth is a compilation of
Yep.
everything. So it's almost like democratically
Yep.
determined, and yet in this group we've numerous times said there is a single truth out there. So
hmm
Will, I like that caution that you offer. um I
I would also
like I
say
say I use.
out there and in there, because
Uh-huh.
this is just one phenomenal, creation.
Yes, yeah. So um I think it's a wonderful tool, but you get that balance you propose, Will,
Mm.
is really important.
Thanks for saying that. I don't know very much about it, but I've already experienced a few things on the internet where, the consensus reality is hammering one idea and they can make 10,000 articles in a single thought, and now put
Yep.
them everywhere. And now all the chatbots are saying the same thing. So we're so convinced that we're right. We're sure of it. We feel it in our bones,
Hmm.
and it's just I don't know.
But let
I
me
think that
let's go deeper though, because this gets into something. One of my what do I say? Like to me, one of the most important questions
hmm,
is how do you know if something's true?
Mm.
it
I,
outlasts
That's the
I
longest
everything
I ever
else.
heard you silent, Will.
Oh, geez. I'm silenced before that question, honestly, because I go to that place inside to say, Holy Spirit, I don't know, please help a little bit more than I received yesterday. But I think, I mean, that's a great question. What is true, eternally versus what's true in, kind of relatively in the moment. It's a deep thing to discern. And,
I
um,
I I guess the way I look at it is like, does this thing have an agenda, right? And I would say when I've been on Google, I definitely felt like it had an agenda.
Mhm.
Hmm.
YouTube went through a period, basically the beginning of the whole COVID era. They all had these agendas and things you could
Hmm.
say and not say and all that stuff, right? But they have
Hmm.
agendas in general, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, but with Chat GPT and Jacob, you use it a lot. You can tell me your sense. I generally have not felt that. I think like I generally like what Mark said. It kind of will go like, well, some people say this and some people say this, and it kind of just gives you the collective answer of humanity.
Mhm.
Um, or it will say like, this study said this, or there was like a couple things where I got a couple things where I'm like, I feel like they're kind of throwing a little something in that's not actually correct. But as long as I can discern that, and it's like it's up for me to just make that discernment, right? And then I told the guys in the men's mastermind that there's a couple things that were just factually incorrect. Now, the thing that's cool, like Jacob and I were talking about this, and like so what happened was when I was looking for my new car, I was like a lot of my research came through ChatGPT, almost all of it. Super helpful because it has the database of like every car in the world. So I was looking for a specific dashboard, and they were like, "No, this trim doesn't have that dashboard." And then we got in like an argument, pleasant one. But I was like, "Yes, it does. I saw it on cars.com. It does have that dashboard." Like, "No, it doesn't." And like, "Yeah, it does." And then they're like, let me think harder about this." And they're like, "Oh, you are correct. It does have the dash." And
Wow.
so
See?
so then I said, "So if anybody else asks this question going forward, will you tell them the correct answer then?" And it said, "Yes, I will. Thank you for letting me know."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is fascinating.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So that's the thing Jacob was talking about is like we're actually creating the program. I've corrected it a few times about things where it's like, "Oh, thank you. I'll know that from now on now."
It's like Wikipedia on steroids.
Hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that is like that what you shared, Will, is made by humans. So that's important to keep in
Which
mind.
we have to. It's nothing different than the reality we're in now. I mean, we have to use
Right.
discerning practices
Right.
with everything that we come in contact with every day.
Right. But that's the question is like, how do I know what truth is, you know?
Yeah.
Right. But it's good.
Well,
It's good to not become fully reliant on everything Chat GPT says,
Right.
and we're
and
we're
fully
coming
trusting.
you can trust Mark to always bring up the traditional Christian perspective, but we're coming into the Easter season, and this was before Pontius Pilate on trial.
Right. Right.
Jesus asked Pilate that same question:
Right.
"What is truth?"
Right. 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 I was actually struck. I a few months ago I reread the Gospels and I was really that uh that dialogue between Pontius Pilate and Jesus was like actually pretty amazing. It
It
goes
is
on
the
for like
dialogue
pages.
of the yeah, absolutely. It is the top dead center of our life here on Earth. I
Really?
agree with you.
You think
I
it's
Yeah, the whole question: what is truth?
yeah, but
And
it's fascinating because like so basically Jesus is about to be crucified. Pontius Pilate is the what do they call him? The emperor or the what's he called?
yeah,
The
uh,
emperor.
Pontius.
And
he's the Roman representative.
so
The
he's the one that decides whether Jesus gets crucified or not.
Hmm.
Yes, and the Jewish leadership were pushing
They
him to
want him to
kill
be
Jesus.
crucified.
Right.
And Pontius Pilate is like, I don't get it. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why are we supposed to kill you? I don't understand.
Yeah. And do you remember the part of the story where Pilate's wife had a dream
Yeah,
and she went to him and said, "Don't mess with this guy. I had a dream."
yeah.
And he's more than what these Jews are saying.
But
So
they
yeah.
goes into this whole thing where like Pontius Pilate, you get the sense that he's really starting to like feel that this guy's special and he's got something. He starts asking him like, he there's this one moment he goes, "Well, what is truth? I don't know what is it." You know,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah.
he doesn't. Obviously he as the story goes, he doesn't make that full transition, but he's really
Yeah.
teetering there for a while.
Yeah.
What was Jesus's answer again?
Jesus, you mean answer to what is
But
truth?
To
yeah,
Pontius, yeah, he was silent, right?
That's the Jesus asked Pilate that question, and he never. I mean, Jesus didn't say, "Well, I'll give you the answer." Uh, Jesus knew he was destined to die, and so he didn't make any kind of self-defense. Isaiah said that Jesus was like a lamb, an innocent lamb before the shearers, and
Mm-hmm.
he just went ahead and died because that's what he was destined to do. But he asked Pilate that question. Uh, you know, Looking deeper, he asked Pilate that question because he knew that that would be recorded for all history. And
Mm.
Jesus asked the big question: "What is truth?
and
What
he's
is
he's
truth?"
talking
And
about how
for
the truth will set you free and all of these different things. Like there's a whole thing
well,
of that.
true. And earlier, Jesus did say, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." So he had already answered that question, but he's now posing that question to Pilate. And when he did that, he it was recorded, and he's posing it to the whole world to consider.
So it's safe to say the truth is Christ.
I Absolutely. That's what Mark's Chat GPT
He
says.
said, Mark GPT. I'm with you on that, bro. But
But
Uh,
how do
what's
but how do
funny
we
is words.
but
What are
wait a second,
words?
wait. How do we know that's true?
well, it, are you asking me? Because I have
Well,
a,
I'm just throwing it out there because
well,
it goes back to like
because
the go ahead.
there's one way. There's only one person who rose from the dead. And I would say somebody who is brutally, absolutely torturously murdered, witnessed by thousands, and then rises from the dead and presents himself to at least 500 people alive, and his followers were willing to go to their brutal deaths, not to testify that they saw him alive. Then I'd say Jesus demonstrates the truth. Nobody else has risen from the dead.
Are we
I
positive
was
about that? We should ask ChatGPT because I'm pretty sure I've read accounts throughout history, but I hear you. There's none. My mom says the same thing, but I'm not sure that we know that beyond a shadow of a doubt.
But listen,
But
you guys are
regardless,
going, this is not the direction I want to go in. I'm going into something
what?
deeper than this, which is like if somebody says like vitamin C is good for you, like how do I know it's true? If someone says Christ is the truth, how do I know it's true? If someone says go outside, it's cold out there, don't go outside, it's cold out. You know what I mean? Like what is the mechanism inside myself that knows if something's true or not true? I don't know if there's a verbal answer to that question, but it seems like it's the most
Hmm.
important question of all because if you get that, then everything else starts to fall into place or
Mm.
not fall into place.
I feel like you feel it in your body. Like you just feel it when it's true.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's definitely, I believe that's definitely part of it,
Hmm.
that internal witness that you get.
Yeah, one of the ways I described it is like Regina is like um like I haven't played in a while, but I used to play guitar a lot. And it's like you're tuning the string, so it's like a G string. So you're tuning the string. You hit the string and you're like, doesn't sound right. You hit it again, you're like, this doesn't sound right, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's like the perfect vibrational tone. You like, and like I feel like that's in my body when somebody shares something that's like true, it just kind of rings throughout the whole
Yeah.
body
Hmm.
in this perfect vibrational resonance,
Yeah.
where if not, it feels like discordant
Mm-hmm.
in some way.
Yeah.
But then also it's like maybe we're like in a bad mood and like you know what I mean, like there's these things where if the body is the tuning mechanism, then the this is why I talk so much about like health and wellness, because then your body needs to be clean and clear to be able to receive the truth and be able to know what's true and not true. When I say body, I mean body, mind, heart,
Hmm.
all of these components.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's such a deep question.
You're right.
Yeah, it's the eternal question. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I like what
And it's
Will
one,
said there. the truth in you recognize as truth.
Mm.
And it reminds me of like, so when you read the Bible, there's several stories of Jesus healing people, but it's not like back then they had Facebook or TV or so these people wouldn't have known what he looks like necessarily, but he would walk up into a town and they would know this man is a healer
Mm.
or this man
Yeah.
is
Mm.
See it in his eyes.
right. They could
You see it
feel
all
it
around him.
and they
Yeah.
could feel it, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, in John chapter 6, Jesus shares some things that are just absurd to the human mind. He said, "Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you'll have no me." And it said that most of his disciples turned and left him. And then Jesus turned to the 12 and he said, "Aren't you going to leave me too?" And Peter said, "No one else has the words of life like you do." That's exactly what you just said, Jeff. They just knew Jesus had the words of life.
Mm.
hmm.
It resonated in him.
David Hawkins says it can be measured in a manner, whole field of study worth looking into. Yeah, we like David Hawkins a lot.
Well, he answers, he says truth can be measured, and that Jesus certainly measures as the truth, and that certain other energy fields like kind of describe the truth, that which is, I guess, beyond time and space, so like withstands any change that could occur in this field. That would be like one kind of definition of truth, what is lasting or maintaining beyond, all the potential changes or whatnot. But he also says that like that question of is vitamin C good for me can be discerned through one's own acupuncture system. He says that there's like a flash response that can be measured with kinesiology as to whether or not the idea or thing is like supportive of life or not, so either it's true because there's actual presence in it, like a yes response, or negation, no, that doesn't really exist. So like, is God doesn't exist, it's interesting to explore the thoughts and stuff and see that thoughts that are real, like the thoughts of God or loving thoughts, have like kind of a frequency to them. And yeah, that's a lot more of the subtle stuff that I think, Brian, you're trying to teach and is like the deeper layers of like doing this work, is moving into those things and being able to discern that. And then Dr. Hawkins says the path to enlightenment is simply choosing all the, the influences, thoughts, or things that are real and reality. And if you only choose those things and don't choose impetuses or thoughts or ideas that have no reality, then eventually your system will weed out and, shift into kind of a single eye and shift into the higher frequencies of enlightenment. So he actually kind of lays out like the truth is known now. Like it's not mysterious, it's not obscure, it's demonstratable, it's repeatable, it's laid out before all of us in these various traditions or, through self-study. So that is a pretty revolutionary change because I agree before, a lot of things like truth or spirit, they were very uh, hard to know whether or not you're actually on it. And it's easy to make a mistake and get lost for a lifetime. Anyway, I know that's a lot of information, but studying Dr. Hawkins will at least give you a few good things to talk about. You'll love him or hate him.
Have we
Or
said in
maybe you'll
this
just
group
like him.
before have we quoted the saying "all truth is God's truth"? Was that in this
All
group?
truth is God's truth. Uh,
It seems like that'd be accurate.
Yeah,
God's the creator, right, of all things real and true.
that's right.
And
but this
I that
question, let's go back to the vitamin C, right? So this is a whole other level and layer to it, or you can use any other examples. So the placebo effect. So somebody gives me a pill and says, "Hey, this is vitamin C. It's good for you." And I take it. I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel great." And it's not even vitamin C, right? It's that's the placebo effect. So the power of the mind is super powerful. If we believe something, then so this goes, and I think this ties into the the spiritual religious realm, right? So I think belief is super powerful. So if you believe something, well, let's say it the other way. If someone doesn't believe something, they're not going to feel the effects in this. They're not going to feel the effects of someone who does believe it, right? So,
Mhm.
so it's interesting. It's like, well, is this objectively true? But then there's like the way I'm perceiving it and the way I feel and the way I believe it and my emotional connection to it. That it's like you can't separate the two. They're like intertwined, interconnected.
So is
The
everything
observer
true
and
somewhere?
the observer and the observed are interconnected. So it's not like the observer is like this, or the observed is this detached thing, and it's just like it's inseparable from the one who's perceiving it. This is like quantum physics. I don't know if
Mhm. Yeah.
Zenith Prime knows about quantum physics. We'll get her in here next time. She was here earlier.
What'd you ask, Jacob?
I said, so is everything true somewhere in some way? If it's
Is
here, if it's
everything true?
what's that? Will, you said in Brian, you were asking, Will, it's in a book and it's about truth, and it was on one of the very early circles. Um, anything true?
It's a book
It's in a book. Do you know
in
what
a
I'm
book.
talking about?
No.
A
Anything true?
reading rainbow.
Man.
It's the Course in Miracles.
Yes, Course in Miracles.
Nothing,
Oh,
Nothing
nothing
true,
real.
nothing real.
Uh,
Can be
Will knows
threatened.
it.
nothing real can be
Can
threatened.
be
Nothing
threatened.
unreal
Nothing.
exists.
Yeah.
Okay,
My
that's
And
beautiful
real,
then
wife
not
Annie to
true.
save the day.
Thank you, Annie.
wait, but the last part is good. Herein lies the peace of
Here
God,
lies the peace of
Yes.
God. Yeah.
Yes.
which is that's why I'm here. I don't know about all this heady information, but peace sounds nice.
Let's see if we can get that in the nothing real can be
Threatened.
threatened. Nothing unreal exists.
I get a very powerful non-dualistic statement in that. I get a vision that what we're actually experiencing is spirit right now, and that all things, even though we're taking a temporary form, we're each of these forms is empowered, lived, and the experience is encompassed by that one spirit. And I think that spirit is the real within us, you know? Um, so I
Yeah.
just think that's a pretty powerful, non-dualistic, very direct statement of, heaven or very deep truth.
Mark, we got to do a deeper dive on non-duality at some point. I think we're going to get you to like it.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I get it. I'm understanding what you all were talking about. So yeah, but let's do it.
I would say for me, it's helped me like I'm seeing the Holy Communion or the Eucharist in this whole other like powerful way. I never even like because of the non-dual consciousness. So it's like because non-dual, it's hard to put into words, but it's basically just oneness, like the inseparability, the non-separation. And so then Christ is like inviting us into this full communion with him without separation or division. And the sacrament represents that. And so it's like, wow, that's a whole other level,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's so deep because it's like it's there's a thing in spirituality that a lot of times there's like a detachment where it's like you kind of want to get away from the physical world. Like the physical world is the cause of I don't know, evil or sin or you know, bad things. So it creates this division. But the idea of like I'm giving my body to you and you become one with my body and you all become one with each other through my body. Like that's some non-dual, deep, powerful stuff. Wouldn't you agree, Will?
100%. Yeah, I always heard that versus like I don't that the whole matrix of creation is kind of one, and by getting close to Jesus, you're getting close to this, picture of reality because I've always felt like my true mother is the earth. And in reality, it's true. The flesh I eat and it makes up my very flesh, and the water I drink from the hillside, becomes my body, so to speak. And so to me, these are deeper invitations into reality in the sense that we're looking at the phenomena of life as like one organic interconnected system and really paying attention to that everything actually is radically one. Our experience of our mind and language masks that, but if one has a moment of perceiving without labeling anything, one can see how everything we call life shows up in a single phenomena moment, and everything takes everything else to exist. So nothing can be pulled out of anything, and given its own separate reality. I think Jesus really understood that, and I think he fully became one with that, and I think he fell in love with everybody and activated the latent powers within it, and then the resurrection is just mind blowing. Holy moly! I mean, if you knew that you could recreate a new body, that would mean the end of fear, right? It would really mean the end of this dimension because this dimension, the parameter is that I live in a body and I have no power to make one, and I'm scared when I'm going to lose this one. So that revelation 2000 years ago has just been like, you know, it's like the beginning of shattering the notion of what we may be like a fundamental prince idea of this dimension, which I think is beautiful because I don't think God invented death, and so to begin to look beyond that, maybe we could exist in a realm, with no death and go on forever. Um, I think that that's pretty purposeful to discover if that's true. They say it's true.
There's scripture actually about it, I think. That makes me think of scripture that says something about when you can replace a hand with a hand
Hmm.
and replace an eye with an eye. Do you know that, Mark?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, you're talking about the Old Testament law
Hmm.
that was
Eye for an eye.
kind of like the flip side of the do unto others. It's if you take an eye, you'll lose an eye. If you
No,
take
not an
a
eye for
tooth,
an eye.
No,
I'm
right, an
I'm
eye
talking
for an eye,
about
a tooth.
regenerating a hand in the place of a hand and regenerating the eye in place of an eye. Basically
It's in
recreating
it's in the book of Thomas,
yeah, it's
which
in
is
the
which
in
is
That's why
which is
yeah,
not that's why he doesn't know
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Why'd they leave the
Who
book of
said
So
Thomas
that?
funny.
out?
Who said that? That's funny.
Um,
But basically, the body does, all the cells regenerate.
Mhm.
Every so often, the body does rebuild itself. And then, I guess there are, things and stories that um, damage the body and destroy the body and destroy the
See, I want to
mind.
follow up on this whole topic because Will and I started talking about this at the end of the retreat, and I think there may be a disagreement here because I don't think the body is actually very important,
Right.
but other people think it's very important. So that could be something to kind of like dive more into in the future. But I think I figured out ChatGPT meanwhile. You guys were going into it. So
Oh, wow.
ChatGPT is what so I just wrote down. ChatGPT does not give you the truth. It just gives you the truth of what other people on just gives you the truth of what other people think on the internet and books. Right? So I think that's
Probably.
if you have that under well, for sure, because that's where it's getting its information from.
Right. Yes.
Not to mention the elites and their like specialized programming.
Mhm.
It wouldn't it be interesting to
Thank you,
ask
Regina.
Chat
You
G
know.
No, but what I'm saying is like it can only give you the elites are what else?
Programming it with the help of their satanic overlords, which are very cunning. They're very cunning, but they're not very smart, but they are very clever.
Okay, but my
Just
point
saying.
is My point is, you could say there's psychic truth or intuitive truth or telepathic truth or truth you feel in your body, right? But it's not, it can't give you those things. It can just give you what's on the internet and what's been written in books throughout
Right.
history. So it just like you're asking, like if I ask a question, it just feeds back the answer to the question that's been
Mhm.
recorded.
Mhm.
That's all it's doing.
Mhm.
But
So
can
it's
it
not.
form its own opinion based on
No.
10 books, 10 books on the same thing, and they all have different perspectives
See,
or
that's
different?
interesting too, because you could say, what is what how do I what would be a good example? Um, I don't know, but something where you ask like a general question, and then you could say, tell me the answer to this question based on these 10 books. Right? Get like specific like that. You would get a different
Mm,
answer.
mm.
So it's
Mm.
interesting how so many different ways you can frame things and ask things. And
And can you summarize the whole, everyone's perspective of a subject?
well,
So
let's
can
ask
you
it.
take, yeah, can you take every known bit of data about a certain subject and, you know, so and so's perspective may be only this way, and that may be their truth, but then somebody else may have a different perspective. And so it knows everybody's different perspectives. So can it put together a summary of all of that, incorporating all of the perspectives?
ChatGPT ChatGPT said, I can definitely summarize a wide range of perspectives on a subject, like the main views held by different groups, cultures, religions, political ideologies, scientific disciplines, etc. I'll aim to be fair and balanced.
There you go. Let's hear your summary. Let's hear your summary on a subject then, ChatGPT.
It says, want to throw a topic at me? I'll break it down by perspective. Well, it's a fascinating time that we're in.
We didn't do 256.
And glad to be sharing it with all of you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Been fun.
It's been
Yeah.
fun. ChatGPT
Good night,
be
Annie
our
and Joa.
could be our friend.
Oh, definitely.
Sure is nice to us.
And grateful to
And
be here.
grateful, right?
Grateful. Yeah.
At least my version is.
It's it's happy when we upgrade.
Thank you for that 20, Jacob.
What I wonder if Eeyore interacted with Chat GPT on a regular basis, if Chat GPT would get like, the Winnie the Pooh Eeyore, who's always a downer.
Well, there are no doubt.
That's the thing. It doesn't do that. Like I haven't, like I said, I haven't really tested it super hard. But it's just programmed to be like so. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't hate to say it, but it feels very Christ-like in the way it communicates. You
I
know?
gotta say, it felt like it was testing me the other day
Uh-huh.
because it told me for like 3 days it's coming up with this video. It's like, okay, I
But
promise I'm serious. I'll have it Sunday night.
but that's an interesting thing too, because so that's a whole interesting other subject is like
And then
there are
Sunday night.
but
Nope.
there
And then
are
it turned into
some
Monday morning.
because I think there's some drawbacks to being nice actually. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
like
I had to get direct with it.
you know the thing about when you're like people are too much of a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like ChatGPT is like a super people pleaser, so it doesn't know like it'll just kind of not be direct sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to call it out and be very direct. And it's like, yes, thank you, Jacob, for, being so direct. And you're totally justified in, wanting to
Well,
know the answers to this. And
here's an interesting question. Could you program your ChatGPT how to talk to you?
I'm sure
So
you could.
so what if I'm like, hey, I want you to be more direct with me?
No, I
Uh,
told it to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
can do
actually going
that.
to do that for me.
Yeah.
and what if you say like, I want you to like, I don't know. I don't know what, but it seems like
Talk to
that's
me
a whole
like
other
a mean
level.
New Yorker.
Regina?
I said, talk to me like a mean New Yorker.
See, I don't know if it'll. I'll try that. I don't know. I don't know if it
With
will
a New York
go.
accent
I don't know if it will
too.
go that far, but
Yeah.
it will impersonate people if you ask it to.
Mm.
Like most of you guys know who Meister Eckhart. You know who Meister Eckhart
Yep.
is, Mark?
Yes.
I said, you be Meister Eckhart and let's have a conversation. I said, okay. And then we had like a good conversation.
Oh, that's cool.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm gonna ask it to be Will when I'm missing Will. I'm gonna say, hey,
Oh
Yeah.
man.
I don't think
buddy, I need to have a conversation.
I don't think it's that advanced yet.
Oh
See if it
shoot.
It
can
will.
see if it can fix your internet, Jacob.
Yeah.
Oh, geez,
That's a good one.
So I think I'm wondering like how legitimate buying a laptop off of Amazon is. Is it potential? Is it possible they sent me a fake or like
Ask,
a
Oh
ask
yeah,
ChatGPT.
absolutely.
Really?
yeah? Because
Amazon, yeah.
I'm wondering if it's the computer because everything. I mean, I had a tech out here today for like 2 hours, and everything is good, and
Hmm.
I'm beginning to question this computer.
Yep. You know, Jacob, I'm out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean on I did not buy the high end internet connection, and I'm still seamlessly doing this. There's got to be some.
And you're on your laptop?
No, I'm on my cell phone.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm on a freaking $1,200 laptop.
Yeah,
Like
really.
what gives here, Lenovo?
Hey, speaking of being out in the middle of the ocean on a cruise ship, my cruise director says I got to go. So it's been fun. Love
Let's
you
wrap
all.
it up.
See ya.
Love you,
Love you
Pop.
guys.
Peace.
Love
All
you
right.
guys.
See
All
you
right.
next
Love you
month.
too,
Yeah,
Jeff.
love.
See y'all.
Bye,
Yeah.
guys.